Hi, this is a Khan Academy tutorial on factor quadratics by grouping. I'm going to kind of give you the basics of how to factor by grouping. In my other video, I do a different method for this exact same Khan Academy, but I'm going to kind of show you how to do this as quickly as possible. Here's the basics. We're going to look at the leading coefficient of your squared term, and then we're going to look at the constant. We see that both are positive, so we're just going to do 12 times 6. And that gives us 72. Now here's the deal. Some tips for breaking this down further. What we're doing is we are simply rearranging this middle term right here, this 17x, to be composed of factors of 72. Remember that we multiplied the 12 and the 6 to get 72. Now we're looking for factors of 72 that add up to give us our middle term. Now anytime we have a positive and a positive, we're looking for the sum of those two terms. So just those two terms added together. That makes it easier for us, in my opinion. Okay, so now we're looking up factors of 72. So we have 12 and 6, as we talked about, 6 and 12. Okay, but we also have 9 and 8. Okay, and I think there's probably some other ones. There's 36 and 2. Okay. But here we can clearly see that 9 plus 8, those two factors add together to give us 17. So we're going to split this up into two separate, 17x into two separate expressions. So let me go ahead and rewrite this so you know what I'm talking about. 12x squared plus, and then we're going to put the plus 6 over here. Okay, those guys stay the same. Then we're going to put 9x plus 8x. Okay, so see how this 9x plus 8x, this becomes 17x. What does this do for us? Well, now we can group. We can group these two together, and we can group these two together with the greatest common factor and factor out the GCF. The GCF for this first group is going to be 3x. When we take out the 3x, what's left inside? We're going to be left with... what is that? 4x. So 12x squared divided by the greatest common factor. 3x is 4x. And then plus 3. Okay. Next up, let's take out the GCF, pardon me, of the blue group. So we factor out the 2. And what are we left with inside? 8x divided by 2, the greatest common factor, is 4x. 6 divided by 2, the greatest common factor, is 3. So we have these two groups here, 3x times 4x plus 3, and 2 times 4x plus 3. This is your goal. Your goal is to get this 4x plus 3, or whatever. We want these two to match, and they do. 4x plus 3, 4x plus 3, they match. This next step here is we're going to say, okay, we're going to factor out this 4x plus 3. We're going to group that together, okay? And then what are we going to be left with? We're going to be left with, let me change this to purple, 3x plus 2. Okay, and that was that 3x and then that plus 2. If you're confused on what I did for this last step here, consider this. Consider if we had 3x times y plus 2 times y. Well, you could notice that we have a y here and a y here, and we could factor out a y. And then what are we left with? We're left with 3x plus 2. We essentially did that same thing, except y in this case was 4x plus 3. This whole thing right here was our y. So we factored that out because it was a product of both this term and the second term. So we factored it out into the front, and we put what was left when we didn't have that, 3x and 2, and add them together because this 2 was positive. So we're going to type in, for our final answer, 4x plus 3 and 3x plus 2. 4x plus 3, 4x plus 3, and what's that, 3x plus 2? Yeah, 3x plus 2. All right, now that you have the basics, I'm going to try to go faster now. Okay, first thing I like to do is I don't like that negative, well, I guess we can leave it. So we have this negative 8 and a positive 2. We're going to multiply those two together, negative 8 times 2, and we get negative 16. Okay, so this last term is positive, so we know we're looking for the sum of terms that add up to negative 15. Let me just think of some 4 and 4. That's no good. We have negative 8 and 2. That's no good. What else can we do here? We can do 16 and 1. Okay. Negative 16 times positive 1. And actually, sorry, what I meant here is because this is negative, we're looking for, we are looking for terms that the difference adds up to negative 15. Okay, so the difference is negative 15. Now we know that negative 16 plus 1 gives us negative 15. We're ready to rewrite this expression. So we have negative 8x squared. We have the positive 2 over here. I don't know why I wrote that so far. Then we're going to write negative 16x plus 1x. Okay, this equals negative 15x when you add those two together. Now, what do we do from here? Well, what we're going to do from here is we're going to group them together. So we're going to factor out from this red group, we're going to factor out a negative 8x, the GCF, and we're left with, what are we left with in parentheses? X plus 2. Okay. Then we're going to move to the green group, or sorry, this blue group. Okay, and we see that we just have 1x plus 2. So we're just going to, essentially, we're going to factor out a 1 here, plus 1. And in parentheses, we're going to leave x plus 2. Okay. In this case, you're like, what? Why did you factor out a 1? We still need to get something outside the parentheses because, in a sense, well, we don't need to, but it does help us in terms of understanding the problem a little bit better. So we see that we have an x plus 2 and an x plus 2. We're going to factor out the x plus 2 in parentheses, and then we're going to put negative 8x and then plus 1, and we are done. So that's our factor there, our factorization. So we have x plus 2, x plus 2, and then we had negative 8x plus 1. Negative 8x plus 1. And that should be it. All right, next question. We're rolling here. Okay, we see that we have positive 36, positive 36. We're looking for the sum of factors here that give us negative 13. Okay, so if it's a negative 13 right here, that means we're looking for negative numbers. So that's going to be negative 9 and negative 4. We're going to rewrite this 6x squared minus 9x minus 4x. That adds up to negative 13. And then plus 6. So we are going to factor out here. We're going to factor out 3x, and we're going to be left with 2x minus 3. Then we're going to factor out of this one. We're going to factor out a negative. I want the x to be positive because we have a positive x here. So I'm going to factor out, pardon me, they're blue. I'm going to factor out a negative 2. That's the greatest common factor. I'm left with x plus 3. I don't like the way that looks. Notice how I didn't get them to match. So it looks like I'm going to have to figure out something else to factor out. What can I do? I factored out the 2. Oh, I'm sorry. That's because I factored wrong. 4x divided by 2 is 2. There we go. I'm sorry. Okay, now, here's another thing to consider. I have... oh, I'm sorry. I factored out a negative, so that should be negative. Sorry, I messed up multiple times. So that's going to be negative. Okay, now they match. Sorry. I did it right, but then I didn't copy down right. Now I have 2x minus 3. Oh, whatever. We're going to use the same color. And then 3x minus 2, and that's going to be our final answer. You can always check by foiling. 2x minus 3, 3x minus 2. 2x minus 3, and then 3x minus 2. Double check. Good to go. Check it. Ready to go. And our last one. Okay, we have 8 times negative 5, negative 40. So we're going to have the difference of terms because it's negative. Anytime you have a negative number here, we're looking at the difference of terms adding up to negative 18. So we're looking for something bigger than negative 18 as a factor. So I'm thinking 20 and 2, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be negative 20 because we want the bigger number to be negative. So we're going to have negative 20x plus 2x, 8x squared minus 5. Okay, next up, what we're going to do is we are going to factor by grouping. We're going to look for the biggest common factor. In this case, it's going to be 4x. We're left with 2x minus 5. Okay, and then in this case, we're going to do the same thing. We're looking for the greatest common factor. There isn't one. Okay, so we can essentially factor out the 1 and leave 2x minus 5. Another hint is if you see, once you factor this, that matches that, then you're just going to leave it, essentially. Okay, so that matches. We're going to take that out, factor it out, 2x minus 5. We're left with 4x plus 1 there, and that's our final answer. 2x minus 5, 4x plus 1. 2x minus 5, 4x plus 1, plus 1. Oops, sorry, forgot the parenthesis. 4x plus 1. Check it, and we're good. So this is a little bit faster than the way I previously did it in part 1, part 2. This is a new one, just with grouping, actually doing it how you're supposed to. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have any more questions. Hope to see you next time.